Once your water has come up to a rolling boil, make sure that you've got some salt in there, and then add in your pasta. You're then just going to give it a quick stir so that it doesn't stick. You're going to turn down the heat so that it is just going to simmer away for about 12 minutes. If you've got a lid, put your lid on. Whilst my pasta's cooking away, I am going to start cooking the flavourings for my pasta bake. So I'm just putting a frying pan on and a small amount of oil into my frying pan. As I have got onions, I'm going to add my onions in to just start getting them to soften. Turning it down onto a medium heat. You just want to get your onions to soften. You don't want them to go brown, so you need to keep an eye on them and control that temperature. And then once they have started to soften, you can see the change in the colour. So they start to look softer and they start to go a bit more see-through. So once they're cooking, I'm going to add some bacon to my pasta bake. So I'm just going to put that into the pan. I have just snipped it up with a pair of kitchen scissors, which can sometimes be the easiest way to cut our bacon. And you should just be able to make your pasta bake with 2 pans. So I'm just using my frying pan to cook all of my vegetables and my filling, and then my saucepan for my pasta. Just to show you what I'm doing now, my pasta's just got a few minutes left, so I am just going to add in some broccoli into that water to get it to soften, and I've got some frozen sweet corn as well. So that should just start to cook it and soften through. If you do find that as it's cooking, it starts to boil over, if you've got a lid on, take the lid off, turn down the temperature, and then we can work with it that way, and it will reduce your temperature. Once your bacon and your onions are cooked and soft, you can add in your other ingredients. So I'm just popping in a bit of garlic, some courgettes, some mushrooms and some peppers. But essentially you can use whatever you have available to you in the fridge or whatever it is that you like. The more vegetable there is, the more it bulks it out and it fills you up for longer. Once the pasta is cooked, you are going to use a colander to drain your pasta. So you'll take it to the sink and drain the water out of your pasta. Whilst my meat and vegetables are still cooking away and softening, so we're just wanting them to be soft rather than getting any colour on them, I am going to make my roux sauce, or my bechamel sauce. So I'm going to turn on the temperature, the heat, to a medium heat, bearing in mind that you have just used the pan to cook your pasta, so it should still be hot. And then you are going to add in your butter or your margarine. For this recipe I am going to use 30 grams of margarine or butter, and I am using 30 grams of flour and 300 millilitres of milk. So it's kind of an increase in 10. So you can scale it up or scale it down depending on how much you are making and how many portions you need to prepare. So we're just melting our butter in the pan. Once your butter has melted, you are going to add in your flour. So it's plain flour that we're using, and this is the roux. So when you bring it together, this is then our roux. This is a paste of flour and butter, and this is going to be what is going to thicken our milk. Once it's just cooked for a few seconds to start getting some heat into those starch granules, you are going to add your milk a little bit at a time. So you're adding some in and then you are whisking it to get rid of any lumps. Making sure that you're getting right into the edge of the pan to get any of that roux together. You can do it with a wooden spoon if you prefer, or if you've not got a whisk. If you've got a non-stick pan, don't use a metal whisk because it will start to take some of the Teflon off your pan and scratch it. And then once you've whisked enough liquid in and it's not started to thicken yet and there aren't any lumps and you've got rid of all of the lumps, you can add the rest of your liquid in. So I'm using milk, but if you wanted to make a velouté, if you weren't so keen on having a white sauce, you could use stock, whether vegetable stock, chicken stock, and make a velouté that way. Turn up the heat a little bit more, and you're then going to just continue to whisk until it thickens. So once you've been whisking for a couple of minutes, it should come to a coating consistency, and you should be able to tell by the way that it clings onto your whisk or it coats the back of the spoon. So if we put a spoon in, you can then see that it coats the back of the spoon. So we've got a coating consistency and that will cling to your pasta. Okay, at that point you can turn off the heat and then mix in just some of your cheese just to flavour it a little bit, but the majority of your cheese you want to keep for the topping to give you a crispy finish to your pasta bake. Going to stir in our pasta and vegetables. So that it's all coated with sauce. Once it's all mixed together and coated with the sauce, you are then going to transfer it to your oven-proof dish. So I'll just put some in here. And then you're going to top it off with cheese or a combination of cheese and breadcrumbs, which will give you an even crunchier top to your pasta bake. Sprinkle some cheese on top. That's then ready to go in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, just to crisp off and brown the cheese on the top for about 20 to 25 minutes on gas mark 5 or 190 degrees Celsius. Once your cheese is melted and it's gone golden brown, that is when it's ready to take out of the oven and enjoy.